The following is a special feature presentation of WOAY TV4.
It's just so big that it's just hard to comprehend really how big it is. Words can't describe it.
It's a real symbol of what man can do. I mean, that when you fly over that bridge, or you go under it in a raft, or you drive over it, it's amazing that man can architecturally and structurally put together a facility like that.
Well, I fly over the bridge 7 days a week, and it never becomes boring every time I'm up here. The beauty of the New River Gorge and the bridge that spans it.
It forever changed the landscape of our area. Standing guard over the waters of the New River, the bridge is an engineering masterpiece, a symbol of southern West Virginia, a symbol of what man and steel can accomplish. Each day it brings us together in our cars, and for one day out of the year it brings us together in person. Bridge Day, the largest single-day event in West Virginia.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Matthew Hilk, and this is what it is all about, the New River Gorge Bridge. Tomorrow morning, between 75 and 125,000 people will pack one side of the span for this area's biggest event, an event that'll put Fayette County in the national spotlight. For the next half hour, sit back and relax as we tell you what went into making that bridge, what goes into making Bridge Day, and what would make anyone want to jump off that thing.
This is Bridge Day 94, a special presentation of WOAY TV4. It is rated as one of the top 100 events in North America, and every October, people from all over America flock to the bridge. To some, it represents the ultimate challenge.
It's like, am I going to do it right?
Doing it right is exactly what Bridge Day's been doing for the past 14 years, bringing in hundreds of thousands of people and millions of dollars.
No doubt about it, Bridge Day is an amazing event, but this bridge has an amazing history of its own. We'll tell you what went into putting together this engineering marvel when we come back. Welcome back to Bridge Day 1994. Many of us travel over the New River Gorge Bridge every day, and after a while, some of us stop noticing it. If that sounds sad, it really shouldn't. Part of the wizardry of the bridge is the ability to put 876 feet of bridge and 22,000 tons of steel in the middle of a river gorge without disrupting the scenery. Sound difficult? It was.
The world's longest arch bridge, the highest bridge east of the Mississippi, 876 feet tall. A 1,700-foot span, 22,000 tons of Corten steel at a price tag of $37 million. A U.S. Steel promotional film says it best. You don't just build a bridge like this. The bridge opened in 1977, but that came only after 10 years of design and construction and countless years of treacherous travel.
Being a native of the area, certainly to go across the river into the northern part of the county, you had to go to Cotton Hill, cross the bridge there, or else access down into the gorge to Fayette Station Road itself.
Fayette Station Road, crossing a half-mile chasm, sometimes took at least a half an hour. A journey filled with potholes, switchback turns, narrow roads, and blind corners. So planning began to make Corridor L more accessible. The first question, what type of bridge to build? For answers, the state turned to the American Bridge Company. It came up with 4 possible designs. The first was a truss setup, common but not practical for the New River Gorge because it required huge piers for support. The second idea was a suspension bridge, practical but too expensive and considered too distracting for the beautiful scenery of the gorge. Engineers even came up with a possible elaborate jackknife arch truss, but again, cost was a problem. Finally, the designers settled on simplicity. The arch, one of the oldest and most basic concepts of bridge design in the world.
Well, an arch is an extremely simple form that is incredibly strong, and I think its inherent strength is its and beauty is its strong points. The natural shape of the arch buttressed in the canyon is a very natural form, and I find it harmonizes very elegantly with the natural geography of the canyon rim.
The next issue was where exactly in that canyon should the new bridge be built. It was decided it should be put next to the old Fayette Station Bridge, built in 1889. It's hard to believe these days, but back then the Fayette Station Bridge was a model of technology. Today, the contrast between the two bridges is startling. Once the design was in place, there were some other issues. First, foundation. The area beneath the bridge was hardly virgin land. It had been mined for years. That made the ground weak. The problem was solved eventually by filling in the mine shaft with concrete. The second issue was ecology, making sure the bridge blended with the natural surroundings of the gorge. The shape of the arch may have gone a long way toward doing that, but no matter what, it was going to be a tough job to make nature and steel blend. The answer came in a material called Corten steel. Over time, rather than rusting or oxidizing and turning green, it turns a reddish-brown color, which blends nicely with the foliage around the bridge.
I'd like to believe that they took a lot of effort to harmonize by the selection of materials, the selection of the form. It appears to me that they've done that, and I think they've done a great job on that. Of course, architects typically like to be aesthetic, and engineers typically like to be structural, at least the joke we have. And we are accused of liking to make things pretty, and engineers are accused of making things work, even if it's not pretty.
And there may be no simpler way to describe the success of the bridge project. It's pretty and it works. But construction engineers in the mid-1970s were hardly that confident then. They weren't even sure if they could get their construction equipment down into the gorge. What they came up with was a cableway. Using towers and thick metal wires to manipulate the pieces of the bridge, it was actually a bridge to build a bridge. While that was happening in southern West Virginia, fabricating plants in Ambridge, Pennsylvania, and in Gary, Indiana were turning out the tons of steel needed for the project. Even with all the open space of the gorge, measurements had to be precise. So the New River Gorge Bridge was actually put together 2 times, once in the shop and a second time in the gorge. With the cableway in place and the metal on the way, the work on the first part of the project, the arch itself, was ready to begin. Spring 1976, the first major milestone in the project, the arch is complete. That was encouraging news to local residents who watched construction go on and on and on.
Watching that be constructed, a number of folks speculating the 2 ends would never meet in the middle, and I think it just, is truly amazing from an engineering standpoint that a structure like that can be put up.
The second half of that job was turning an arch into an arch bridge. Bridge pieces were assembled and bolted on the ground. 13 arch towers were erected, followed by 14 trusses for what would become the roadway. Construction workers used iron and concrete as counterweights to keep the structure stable. Then the finishing touches, filling in the roadway and putting on the railing. In 1977, they saw their dream come true. The new River Gorge Bridge was open for business and open to traffic. The old Fayette Station Bridge was closed. More recently, it was closed to pedestrians, but it's been a nagging safety problem. People still hang out on the decaying structure. Some even swing from it. One man died this summer after falling into the water after a swing and drowning. And the bridge itself has had its share of tragedy. Bigger roads mean more traffic, and more traffic can mean more accidents.
It has put a tremendous volume of transit traffic on that highway that I do not think was anticipated by the original design and engineering of the highway.
And twice in the past few months, the bridge has been the site of another type of tragedy. Once this summer and again last month, the bridge was used in an apparent suicide jump. But there's no doubt about the fact that almost all of the memories that go along with this bridge are happy ones. And each day, scores of people stop by the Canyon Rim Visitor Center and look on in awe.
Oh, I thought it was absolutely gorgeous.
People have actually built this bridge.
But I think it certainly is impressive, and I think it's worth taking time for people that are coming in this area to take time to see it.
It actually, I think, brought Fayette County together in a community sense, and really has had an impact on people's ability to get around.
In just a short while, the focus will shift to the top of the bridge. It'll be packed with vendors, base jumpers, rappellers, and thousands of visitors. You can imagine what it must take to put 100,000 people on this bridge. And we'll tell you how they do it when we come back. Welcome back, everybody, to Bridge Day 1994. The bridge itself is fairly quiet right now, but in just a few hours, it'll become West Virginia's largest city, for a day anyway. 75 to 125,000 people on top of this structure. And you can imagine what kind of planning that takes.
The pressure is on. Thousands of people will show up for Bridge Day, but organizers have only a 6-hour period to impress them.
We can't let anything be left to chance because it's only a 6-hour event. It's over with fairly quickly, so you have to spend a lot of time organizing to make sure everything falls right into place.
Sure, things are falling into place today. In fact, you can hardly go anywhere in Fayette County without seeing signs of preparation for the big day.
There's a lot of excitement. The hotels are full. The lobbies are all full of people standing around with their packs. You'll see most any piece of grass around a hotel will be covered with a parachute that somebody's trying to fold in preparation for their jump the morning of Bridge Day.
But not many people understand that preparing for Bridge Day requires a lot more than just folding a parachute. It is a year-round process. Almost as soon as one Bridge Day ends, planning for the next one begins.
There's never a day that goes by that there's not at least one phone call about either bungee jumping or Bridge Day. It's a everyday kind of a thing that we deal with daily. The preparations for the event really start to speed up in the summer, in July and August. In August, we answered 330 phone calls about Bridge Day on our 1-800 line. The 2 days before Bridge Day itself, we answer the phone so much, we can only cover so much ground that there's a number of calls that don't get answered in the hundreds.
And visitors to Bridge Day must do a great deal of planning as well. That is, if they want somewhere to sleep. 1 month before the event, there were no hotel rooms left anywhere in Fayette County. The Chamber had to direct people as far away as Charleston and Lewisburg. Packed hotels are just one example of what Bridge Day brings to the region, an economic impact to the tune of millions of dollars.
I mean, it's a really national day. I mean, people come from all over the country. It's one of our real tourist attractions. It gives us a chance to, I think, promote and to tell people what a great place West Virginia is, and particularly how it is in Fayette County.
To find out a few more specifics about the dollar impact of Bridge Day, the Chamber of Commerce this year commissioned an economic impact study.
And it basically dealt with just the participants of Bridge Day and estimated close to $1 million that they bring into the economy, just the base jumpers, the rappellers, and the vendors.
Again, that does not include the thousands and thousands of people who come merely to watch. Whitlock says the study will continue this year and will focus on the people who just visit Bridge Day. Those people who visit also often take part in other activities that southern West Virginia has to offer, among them whitewater rafting and mountain biking. Anyone in those industries can tell you that Bridge Day has a huge spillover effect.
They are out there advertising, let people know where they are, where they're located. So I think there's a tremendous amount of people that is gathering around to see things for the first time that makes them come back later on in the season.
This is the 15th Bridge Day, and the event has been growing steadily in national popularity since 1980, thanks to some serious ongoing marketing efforts and a few good old-fashioned publicity stunts. In 1990, this happy couple took the plunge, then took the plunge. And 2 years later, GMC used a truck, the bridge, and a bungee cord to film a commercial. Bridge Day's beginnings, however, were not quite as daring.
Basically, the first Bridge Day was the ribbon cutting ceremony for the opening of the New River Gorge Bridge. And on that day, so many people came to walk across the New River Gorge Bridge and to see the fall foliage. And Doug Maddy, who was chamber president then, thought this would be a great annual celebration for southern West Virginia. It would tie out the tourist season at the end of the October Golly season.
There were no vendors or bungee jumpers or base jumpers at that 1977 ribbon cutting. But a few years later, in 1980, by governor's proclamation, Bridge Day as we know it was born. This year, 1994, we'll see 175 vendors and an estimated 300 to 400 base jumpers and rappellers. Having that many daredevils in one place does raise some serious safety concerns. Twice in the history of Bridge Day, jumpers have fallen to their deaths, including this incident back in 1987 when a chute failed to open. But jumpers aside, putting 100,000 people in any one place raises serious security concerns as well.
You know, managing people, you know, in an event this size, in a compact area that we have is pretty difficult. What we've done in the past is basically managing as separate agencies. You know, each agency basically does their own portion of whatever has to be done. This year we're going to change things. We're going to go under what's called a unified command, using the incident command system. So we're all going to be operating under one system.
We have, for the past several months, had a number of ongoing meetings to discuss certain kinds of contingency plans, emergency procedures that could be placed into effect.
One of those procedures is the rather unlikely but important possibility that the bridge would have to be completely cleared because of a serious accident or threat to public safety. But all in all, the sheriff says Bridge Day has had a safe history, and to keep things this way, the bridge area will be manned by 15 state troopers and 13 Fayette County deputies for Bridge Day 94.
Well, almost all of us head out to the bridge on Bridge Day, but very few of us are daring enough to challenge it. We'll tell you what it takes to take the plunge when we come back. Welcome back, everybody, to Bridge Day 1994. You know, you probably remember as a child, you went swimming and you thought you'd go off the high dive. And once you got up there and looked down 15 or 20 feet, you had second thoughts. Well, take a look down over here and imagine what it's like for a base jumper looking down 876 feet straight down before they take that last step.
It is like nothing else that you can physically describe. Of all the thrill sports that exist on this planet, whether it be downhill skiing, waterboat, skiing, whatever it might be, you're always physically supported by something. You're sitting in a race car, you're supported on the skis. Even when you're scuba diving, you have the buoyancy of the water. This is only the one sport where you can actually jump out into nothingness.
And this year, that nothingness will attract 350 jumpers from as far away as Europe.
What a jumper does is they stand on the railing. They take one giant step forward, leaping up and out, and they're immediately in free fall. That first instant is timeless. You don't feel the acceleration, the wind, or the noise. You're just kind of hovering there. The next instant is an immense acceleration. You go from 0 to 70 in 3 seconds flat. You start to notice the river moving toward you, the edges of the canyon moving quickly in your peripheral vision. The wind builds to a deafening roar. You can feel it in every part of your body. At that point, you know it's time to throw the pilot chute.
And again, it's only been 3 seconds. The rest of the ride lasts about 40 seconds. The sport is dangerous, in some ways more dangerous than jumping out of an airplane, because there's so little time to make decisions. For that reason, all jumpers must show proof they're certified at the top of the bridge, and at the bottom of the bridge, National Park Service rescue boats are standing by. Besides base jumping, bungee jumpers have performed several stunts during bridge days, including this 7-person, 779-foot world record jump in 1993. But don't look for bungee jumping at Bridge Day 94. Over the summer, the Bridge Day Commission scrapped it.
We kind of looked at last year's bungee stunt as being so incredible. Do we have to go right back and top it? We were kind of hesitant about looking at another one that had to be bigger and better than last year's.
Instead, this year, you'll see something new, a rappelling rescue technique called the Tyrolean Traverse.
So those folks are professionals. This is not a stunt. It's not something that is going to risk lives. It's something that promotes the saving of lives and how rescues attempted in different gorges and canyons.
And what does the future hold for Bridge Day?
We talked with a promoter about doing a country music show next year. We've talked to a couple of the civic organizations about trying to bring back a heritage festival out here at the grounds of the VOTEC. There's at the Fayette Theater that they have a play that they do a special performance the day after Bridge Day for us.
Well, when this bridge gets jam-packed, things can get a little hectic, so we'll have some final tips for you on enjoying the event when we return. The jumpers are ready to plummet. The vendors are ready to sell. The only question now is, are you ready? Organizers have a few tips for making your Bridge Day worry-free. The event lasts from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Officials are urging people not to show up before 10, as officers will be closing traffic from about 8 to 9. Remember that Fayette Station Road will be closed to all traffic to make way for emergency vehicles. You can't drive up to the bridge, but shuttles will be running from several locations, including the Kmart on Route 19, the Skate Center on Laurel Creek Road, the Comfort Inn across the street from there, and from Fayetteville High School. You can park in the town of Fayetteville either at shuttle locations or at any offices or businesses that are closed that day, such as the county courthouse. Bridge Day has become a permanent part of southern West Virginia culture, as much as the New River Gorge Bridge has. The bridge project cost us millions of dollars and even the life of one construction worker, but it has left an indelible legacy on southern West Virginia. We hope you've enjoyed our look at the bridge and Bridge Day. For all of us here at Newswatch 4, I'm Matthew Hill. Have a great evening. We'll see you on the bridge. Good evening, everyone. I'm Matthew Hilk. Thanks for joining us. When it comes to creating new jobs for the region, southern West Virginia is wishing upon a star. Local officials are now in on the push to convince Disney to bring its new theme park, Disney America, and its 19,000 jobs to the Mountain State. This week, Congressman Nick Rahal made a pitch to Disney Chairman Michael Eisner, saying this would be a perfect area for the history park because of its Civil War ties and location. Disney had pulled out of plans to build in Northern Virginia because of the protests there, which raises the question here, would southern West Virginians want a massive theme park?
It would create a lot of jobs and bring economic boom to this area, and that's what we need.
But I can't see going in a small town and tearing up 100 years or 150 years of nostalgia, you know, or 200. I don't see it.
Better income, more jobs.
I think it'd be all positive. That, I mean, a lot of people around here would go, because I know a lot of people that go to Florida that go to Disney World.
Also this week, Governor Caperton renewed his lobbying efforts. Disney is also reportedly considering other parts of neighboring Virginia. No word when the company will make a decision. The search continues tonight for an accused murderer who escaped from the McDowell County Jail last week. And this evening, police may have a new lead to work with. A dispatcher with the Tazewell County, Virginia Sheriff's Office says there was a reported sighting of Roger Lee Jones in the Bluefield, Virginia area today, but he had no details and says nothing was confirmed. Police in 2 states have been looking for Jones since he walked out of the jail last Monday. What to do about prison overcrowding in the Mountain State? That topic will be on the minds of lawmakers when they hold several days of meetings in the Capitol next week. House Judiciary Chairman James Rowe of Greenbrier County says lawmakers will discuss state plans to buy the Anthony Correctional Center for Youth, which is in Greenbrier. He also says the interim meeting will focus on whether the state can transfer its prisoners to regional jails like the one in Beckley. A controversial parade honoring a convicted child molester was called off today in Kanawha County. 50-year-old James Morris of Nitro says he is innocent and his supporters say he got a raw deal. They had planned a parade on the streets of Nitro this evening, but they called it off after getting threats of violence. Morris was convicted last month of sexually assaulting a 5-year-old girl. Tonight, his opponents staged a vigil in Nitro. Domestic violence may be increasing in southern West Virginia, but so are the number of laws to protect the victims. That was one of the findings discussed today at a women's town meeting held in Beckley. Officials say violence at home still seems to be a top concern of women here.
There is a common theme that we have heard over the last 3 years, in which we subsequently adopted several pieces in our legislative agenda, and that is domestic violence. That's certainly something that comes up in many different variations at each of our women's town meetings.
The meeting was run by the state-appointed Women's Commission, which tries to get new legislation passed by listening to what the public has to say.
Gender bias issues, unemployment for the women, and so on. Who else would take care of women but women themselves? So we thought this Women's Commission is really very important.
The next town meeting will take place 1 year from now, and it'll be open to any woman who wants to attend. Alzheimer's disease is the 4th leading cause of death among adults, but today victims and families got a little extra help from some local residents. Newswatch 4's Diana Morrill has the story.
They're walking in Watch 4 in Fayette County.
Still ahead on the Newswatch 4 Weekend Report, a trade deal with Japan could mean a windfall for some U.S. businesses. We'll have the story for you when we come back. All sorts of American products will now be making their way to store shelves in Japan thanks to a major trade agreement reached today. As Tony Sargent reports, the partial deal could mean billions of dollars for some industries, but nothing for others.
Top Japanese Washington.
Keeping the peace in Haiti is turning out to be a full-time job for American troops. And today, a progress report of sorts. ABC's Nathan Thomas has more.
2 congressional...
A clear, pleasant fall day around southern West Virginia. Temperatures rise, lows in the mid-40s, highs in the mid-60s. Well, Ted Efron joins us next with sports. The Mountaineers finally show their stuff, and the herd stuffs the moccasins. Keep it here. Well, Ted, this just in, some good news about the Mountaineers.
It's been a long time coming, but finally, it's here. In their first in Greenbrier East over DuPont 9-0 high school football capital, who gets Woodrow next, beats Logan 21-6. Mountview Fairmont Senior, that game postponed. The lights went out. Girls basketball, major score, Richlands, Virginia 61, Mercer Christian 57. It is the Cavaliers' first ever loss, snapping their 48-game win streak.
Okay, Ted, thanks for that. We'll be right back. And finally, the news tonight, nothing like a little spicy chili to get rid of that October nip in the air. It was the annual Chili Night in October in Uptown Beckley this evening. For a few bucks, the crowd was treated to chili with chicken, beef, veggies, or a few exotic varieties.
What's in this right here? This is boudin sausage. It's New Orleans homemade sausage out of Pittsburgh. We have flown in for this particular event right here. That's what it is. New Orleans boudin sausage chili.
No matter how you look at it, nobody went home hungry. The event was sponsored by Beckley Main Street and Corley Distributing. I guess I just had to come clean there. Yes, I did get dinner out of the deal, but it was a good story, good event, too.
And I notice you eat your dinner in slow-mo.
I do. I got to take time to enjoy it.
That's
so,
really nice.
Another piece of